But in a situation where you find that look at this,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
Because I have said that.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV's Daybreak. Right now it's time for us to take a look at the front pages of the newspapers to find out what's going on in the country. We'll start with Daily Trust newspaper, and this major story on the front page: Abuja Kaduna train 1 year after attack, full services yet to resume. And we have riders here that says how security operatives averted another attack. Train lacks central lock, poses new security risks, according to sources, and deploy more technology, and that is coming from the victims. Details of that story can be found on page 4. Moving towards the bottom of the front page there, an alarming figure here. Lassa fever kills 142 persons in 23 states in 11 weeks. Now, details of that can be found on page 7. The very bottom of the front page: woman gives birth in bandit's den, baby killed, mom freed. That is on page 24. NLC issues 2-week fresh ultimatum over cash scarcity is another story on the front page of the Daily Trust. And subsidy removal, Buhari's government hands off palliative implementation. Now we move on towards the top of the front page below the masthead. PDP crisis, how NWC sacked IU despite resistance. Details of that can be found on page 12. NNPC to raise crude reserve to 50 billion barrels, explores Nasarawa oil field. These are the major stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Now let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. It has a lead story that says subsidy removal plan raises anxiety as Labour breaks rank. The first rider, Labour not aware of palliative talks on subsidy. And then we have another rider, Pengasing OK subsidy remover, NLC resists deadline. Don't impoverish masses, ASCSN charges new government. Palliative committee yet to harmonize positions 1 year after. We also have another rider here. This is coming from Ingigi. Incoming administration to propose pay rise bear palliative burden. And just beneath the masthead, we have Labour suspend strike, CBN picketing to monitor cash flow for 2 weeks. Dogwa's case file no longer with the police. And then we have Tinubu Council's 71st birthday colloquium for national prayers. And we have a pictorial here that has a caption saying, closing bell to commemorate Geregu's listing on the exchange. And beneath that, PDP obeys court order, replaces Ayu with Damagum. 1 year after, Kanu government releases personal belongings to train attack victims. These are the major stories on the Guardian newspaper for today.
All right, next we'll take a look at the Punch newspaper. The major story reads, suspension, IU heads for court as PDP appoints acting chair. And we have riders here that says IU wants court to overturn suspension. Damagun to run party pending judgment. PDP recorded worst electoral outing under IU embattled chair, weak, gone for good. That is according to the G5. FG $22 billion loan request rejected. That is by the reps. And Zenith Bank grows gross earnings. At the very bottom of the front page there, Ramadan, Yobe reduces working hours for civil servants. And rampaging Ogun kidnappers kill 2, abduct couple. 1 dies, 7 injured as fire guts Lagos market. That is on page 4. And moving towards the top of the front page, at the very top, court cases won't stop handover to Tinubu Shetima. That is according to the federal government. And stop fuel subsidy, revive refineries, Pengasing tells government. And finally, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Labour shelves strike, gives CBN fresh 2-week ultimatum. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning.
Now, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. It has a lead story here that's coming from the president. It says, Tinubu well placed to perform as president. And then we have a rider that says, president leads torrents of encomiums for president-elect at 71. We also have prayers to hold in Lagos. And just beneath the masthead, we have Labour shelves plan strike over Naira scarcity for 2 weeks. NLC, TUC to monitor situation. Then we also have another rider here from Ngige who says how we brokered truce. And above the masthead, we have Pengasing canvasses petrol subsidy removal. We also have police appoint DIG, promote 24 to AIG. IU steps aside as PDP national chairman. NWC appoints the Magum to act. Wike says he is gone. And then we have beneath the masthead also, President-elect's nominees Bagudu Edun joint transition council. These are the major stories on the Nation newspaper for today.
All right, we'll take a look at the Blueprint newspaper, and it goes with the PDP crisis as well. Wike Namani on PDP crisis. IU's tenure, unmitigated disaster. We are vindicated. And it has riders header says NWC jostles for redemption, names Damagun as replacement. Sack illegal, insists party's PCC spokesman, and Ihedioha withdraws from Imo PDP governorship primary. Details of that story can be found on page 5. Next, we'll take a look at Buhari flags off Nasarawa oil drilling Ebenyi A well, and PSC appoints Egbetokun DIG, promotes CP Frank Mba, 23 others to AIG. NLC TUC shelf planned picketing of CBN, give 2 more weeks grace. And Lagos Market Inferno, NEMA confirms 1 dead, 7 injured, 4 arrested. Tinubu nominates Bagudu Wale Edu into Transition Council. And Kaduna Abuja train attack 1 year after. Kaduna State government accounts for victims' items. Now moving towards the top of the front page there and talking politics, still 10th Senate. APC will be fair in zoning arrangement, that is according to Musa. And it has riders here that says NWC member urges Northwest senators to step down for South-South. Giving the slot to Southeast will promote peace, Kalu tells Buhari. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
Now, let's take a look at Nature News. It has a lead story that says ecosystem regulation. Senate passes motion to establish 10 new national parks. We also have Buhari predicts greater prosperity, flags of oil exploration in Nasarawa. Beneath that, the MASA and NCC collaborate to regulate submarine cable operators. We also have get ready for 750 naira per liter petrol, stakeholders tell Nigerians. Still on the Nature News, we have COP28 host UAE tried to weaken global shipping's climate ambition. Niger Delta communities to sue ExxonMobil Shell for pollution. And just beneath the masthead, we have NIMET alerts Nigerians of possible rise in heat level. These are the major stories on Nature News for today.
All right, and now with that, we conclude reading out the headlines on the front pages of the newspapers this morning. And it's time for us to dive deeper into some analysis of those particular stories. And to help us do that in the studio, we have former Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, Ben Shemang, who's retired but not tired. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Surely the energy is there.
Yes, it is evident. It is evident.
Yes.
All right. So let's dive straight into it. Let's look at the first the major story on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper is talking about 1 year after the attack and the train attack, that is, and full services are still yet to resume on the particular train service. Now, this was something that was hailed as revolutionary when it came to the transport sector in Nigeria, and that serious security breach actually put paid to that. Is there any possibility that we might see these the service resume to where it was before the incident of last year?
When the attack took place, almost within 2 weeks, it appeared at that time as if services would be restored, but people said that would be too insensitive to the families of victims and conscience of nation that was thrown into mourning, So if that was the collective decision of Nigerians, the Nigerian government therefore felt they should keep it in abeyance. But the victims have all been set free now. We thought that even the spoiled the track that has been kind of repaired I think the train should start rolling. But again, there are, if you check the riders to this story, they said the trains do not have central lock system of the gates. That is very, very critical. Now, if individuals are busy buying bulletproof cars, I think that our trains should also have these bulletproof facilities. If a situation where a train stops in a station and some people are likely to storm that place and begin to open the doors because they lack a kind of a lock or locking system, I think it is a thing that the security network, the engineering aspect, right from the Chinese companies making it. Look, because of the peculiarities of our areas of operation, these trains ought to have this. Again, a whole year if this service is not on, it's like we are saying, the terrorists have cowed us in submission. You know, when you see a dog barking, I mean, it goes with full energy. But by the time it coils its tail under its legs, it is total submission. You've defeated it. Boko Haram, ISWAP, look, terrorists cannot tell the Nigerian government by their own actions to hinder the trains from rolling. Nigerians need that. And we need to show them that the Nigerian security system remains the aggressors.
Mr.
They
Sherman.
take the wars, just a moment, to these people. Because if they say we're going to destroy this and you just cow down, you back down, of course they feel they are on top of you. So you have to be on top by being the aggressor. Take the war. Everywhere they're hiding, bomb them, strike them. That's just the truth. The president has said it as commander-in-chief. They don't need a trial. Somebody finish them. That's the truth.
Mr. Sherman, apart from, you said that the the terrorists cannot determine for Nigerians what to do. That is very true. However, the first rider says how security operatives averted another attack, which means that, in fact, the story says there was another attack there was a planned attack in January, and that security operatives were able to gun down about 20 bandits. That because they didn't carry, the attack was not successful. That's why a lot of people did not know about it. Now, if Nigerians know that this is happening, naturally, don't you think that some persons would just want to avoid the service? Yeah,
you see, it's also the duty of the security operatives to do what they are doing, as they've reported now. There were many others that have been a kind of nipped in the bud. So if they continuously do all of these things, it gives the Nigerian the confidence that they can always travel by rail, they can always go by road. And so we expect them to do more. And that is what we are saying. They have to be on top of the situation. When you say you are controlling the commanding height of these security operations, you are just in charge. Any attempt to challenge you, like Apache would say, any attempt to challenge our will be met with maximum force. That's exactly what security operatives are supposed to be doing. There's no room for negotiation. Military, they are not diplomats. You look, and the moment you involve them, you already know the civilian aspect is out of it. So if there are some people doing some negotiations outside that, that's not the job of the military. Theirs is, you've called us in, and therefore we have to make this place safe. And every commander in his own area of operation or responsibility will ensure that, every pin that is dropped, he must hear the sound, and he must know the direction, who dropped it and for what purpose, and of course he takes the appropriate measure or measurements to ensure that his area of operation is peaceful.
All right. Well, we're still talking about security and or lack of it thereof. Prior to the elections and during the period of the election, we had this lull in all of these some of these incidents. Well, it led to some speculations that probably the incidents were occurring, but they were being underreported because everybody was talking about politics at that particular time. But now politics is over, and we're starting to get reports of all this right now, because Daily Trust just reports that a woman has given birth in the bandits' den. The child was killed, but the mum was later released, and of course some abductions here and there as well. Are we making any headway when it comes to this thing? Because it seems like it was a thing of the past. It seems like it was abating at one point, but now it seems to have reared its ugly head back again.
Ibrahim, you see, let's be honest. We've said it on this platform, this same studio. See, when this cashless policy was brought on board, you see that cases of kidnapping just went down very well, because nobody had money to pay anything. If you therefore kidnap anybody, how do you even feed them? How do they even get money for any? Now there is a kind of a relaxation of that, so some little monies are entering, and therefore the thing appears to be coming up gradually. But again, how do we begin to ensure that there are tracking of some of these things? Because when we had NICOMSAT, I remember when it was launched, they will show you names of villages. They will show you areas. They say, this is so-so-so local government, so-so-so ward in a so-so-so state. Now, if they are able to do all of this, why is it that they cannot use some of these things to do the tracking? And when you have phone numbers being used, everybody is told, go, give us your biometrics, your fingerprint, your face, everything, photographs taken. Why is it that we still cannot overcome many of these things? Is it that the technology given to us by the makers are different from what we have? Or there are people who indeed will want to engage in dereliction of duty, negligence, deliberate, willful, okay, I won't do my job. I turn my face to the right when criminality is going on to the left. And so the whole of this, when bandits would just look at man's inhumanity to fellow man. You kidnapped a woman, she's there, pregnant, labor, she was all under your supervision. Whether she died or not, all you wanted is money. Money to do what? You know? Now, having given birth, what will you do? You killed the baby. You know the judgment waiting if you actually believe in life hereafter. The kind of hell, I think God should have the hell to go hottest for some degree of criminality. Because if somebody out of hunger stole a tuber of yam, now somebody will go kill human beings, flog them very well, inflict pains, cut them, put some pepper, and you film them and send to their loved ones because you want money.
Mr. Sherman.
I mean, that is real inhumanity to fellow human beings.
Mr. Sherman, when you listen to this kind of things and you hear or you read the stories, you wonder whether we can ever defeat this. And I saw a story about 2 days ago where a former UK Prime Minister said that Nigeria can actually defeat terrorism and banditry. Do you think we're ever going to get there?
We'll get there, provided we get our political space very well. See, Stella, can we talk of serious employment? Now, let me give you a small scenario. Those days, when crisis was up so much, remember the Sharia crisis in Kaduna State, and the governor then just decided, look, where are these youths being used? Christians, Muslims. Look, can you form some farming community or society of 20, 25? And they just took them to some areas, gave them farming. They were busy farming, and government was buying their produce. And by that, you see, you engage them. What is hard in doing all of this? If it will sound digressive, we still insist. Why don't you give these local governments their money? They'll employ so many people. If you employ them, some are into poultry, some are farming, agriculture, just name it. And some are farming ginger, some are vegetable. They all are engaged. All year round farming. So when will somebody go and recruit them and say, come, go kill, I'll give you 10,000. And the man tells you, look, a bag of ginger, 50 kilos, is giving 100,000. So why am I talking about you are giving me 10,000 for what? Please let me enjoy my life. And I tell you, if we engage them, check some of these Boko Haram stories. They will say they are not being reckoned with. They have no jobs. Therefore, the leaders have deceived them. And what is this deceit? Very soon, they'll all be sworn in using the Quran, the Bible, and said they will do justice to all manner of people. What manner of people when indeed you perceive that this area didn't vote for you, and therefore, like the Nigerian musician would say, nothing for Labaja. So you won't give them anything because they don't belong. But I tell you, if you want them, you want to woo them, look, take a project to them. I know you didn't vote for me, but I am telling you this is a project for you. And that is how you woo them. You neutralize them this way. But you cannot force for force. Okay, you didn't vote for me, you will never see road, no bridge, no fertilizer, nothing. Okay, they are killing you, Abi, may you not kill yourselves there. It's not the best way to go.
Well, we're talking about measures to actually forestall kidnappings and banditry and the rest of it. You actually made mention of the cashless policy, and that was one of what we were sold mostly on, that with the cashless policy things will reduce and we'll not have incidents like this again. But it has been met with a lot of pushback. That is the cashless policy now, and we're hearing that, well, at one point the NLC gave an ultimatum that they were going on strike, and then they shifted it. Now they're giving 2 weeks again so that cash will flow. So do you think that goes directly in contrast to what you are talking about, that the cashless policy could be helped to ease banditry?
You see, the policy cashless, I take it or leave it, it's really, really good. It's the implementation that is the issue. If you knew you were going to do this and you tied it, you attach it to the elections so that the real owners of money will not determine the voting pattern, okay, good thing. But you see, the masses are suffering so much, and that's why Labour, you can imagine, okay, Comrade Ajaero, you've just been elected, and the next thing is as if the mission statement of Nigerian labor force is always, let's go on strike. I pity Ngige. Since he was appointed 8 years, all he does is sit down over strike, all over strike. I'm wondering whether he actually sleeps at all. So, but again, Labour therefore assert some kind of pressure, some power to government to ensure that, yes, the worker does not suffer, and not just the worker, people who work in the streets, they should be having some kind of palliative, so to speak. But it shouldn't reach an extent where there is the flexing of muscles, where, of course, at the point you don't even have balance of terror, I'll call it this way. Labour will feel, okay, we're going to make it ungovernable. The government will feel we are in charge. And again, where's the meeting point? It's at the street. It shouldn't just be. If things can be resolved around the table and it is done, so be it. Look at Kenya today. Raila Odinga, you're busy leading. See how, he has reached a certain level. He's contesting. He contested against somebody you call his son. Now he's been defeated. Today you say cost of living is high, and you roll people into the streets. Now see churches, mosques have been burned. They are not related at all. So in the same vein, we should be careful when we have this kind of a situation in Nigeria where the political barometer is still very, very hot. It's boiling. I think that we should find a way of calming down situations, and that's why they say, okay, we are moving it again by 2 weeks. Within those 2 weeks, what are the things that have not been done? What are the things that have been done that are wrongly done? Where are the implementable aspects that should be done? Or who indeed are the ones failing the system, so that all of this could be ironed out before any other 2 weeks
All right,
can
Mr.
come.
Chairman. Moving on to another issue here on the front page of the Daily Trust. Subsidy removal. Buhari's government hands off palliative implementation. Now, there was a committee that was set up to come up with the palliative 1 year ago. Up to now, they are not able to. But then a lot of people are asking, why is the Buhari government even talking about subsidy removal at this point? It has barely 2 months to go, and in any case, subsidy was budgeted for in the 2023 budget till June of this year. So why are they talking about it at this point?
They're talking about it today because, you see, APC has won. And if you look at it, before APC could win, 2015, they were saying subsidy was a scam that had to be discarded.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's what a lot of people are saying. You had 8 years to go, you didn't remove the subsidy, and now you have 2 months, you know.
El-Rufai, governor outgoing, actually said that APC failed Nigerians, but that the last 8 years, but that the incoming regime, they're going to ensure that it is removed. But again, we should be looking at what they call agenda setting. If you've been having subsidy all this while, and suddenly, okay, as you're going, are you handing over that subsidy regime to the incoming government, or you stop it now and hand over? Whichever way you're doing it, surely it's like you've set up an agenda for the incoming regime. How is it going to manage it? And that is why sometimes some of the utterances of even those around the president-elect, I think they are setting up an agenda for him that could be very, very hot in terms of managing Nigerians, in terms of profiling some to make them sound as if they don't belong to the country. So when you have the new president who will come on board only to meet some of these things, that would be very, very diversionary from giving us good governance.
It's actually obvious that the new administration has a lot on its plate already before it actually comes in. Ben Sherman, thank you very much for coming on the show today, and of course we appreciate all the perspectives that you've given to these stories today.
Always a great pleasure.
All right, well, it's still Trust TV's Daybreak. We'll take a short break, and when we return at top of the hour, the show continues. Just stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that